Good evening, GoFAST Racing. We are back with yet another season. I have been with GoFAST Racing for about a season and a half now. This will be my second full-time season. Fixing the mic, it should be better now. Sorry about the scratchy noise there at the start. But we should be all good to go now for the remainder of this practice session and qualifying and, well, every other session tonight. Oh yeah, it's a lot better now. So here we go once again, Prieto, our previous season champion, running in the Nissan GTR. I guess he maybe wants a bit of a challenge. Back here with another season. GoFAST Racing, a lot of returning drivers, but quite a few new drivers as well, and still waiting for everybody to join the session, but this very well could be. We've already had record attendance so far, as we've got 47 drivers, or it's matching the record. 47 drivers in the session. We are expecting a few more and expecting it to be all the way up over 50, well over 50, 55 entries confirmed tonight. Did not get all of those in here just yet, and possibly even more. Last season, Season 4 here with GoFAST Racing, was a record-breaking season. Now, Season 5 looking to break even more records, looking to shatter those records, actually. Another 10-race season. Opening round will be here tonight at Circuit of the Americas. Multiple drivers' championships, though. We've got driver championships in both the Pro or Overall and AM classes, mostly the Overall and AM class. The AM class, not so much a class on skill, more so a class of just keeping drivers competitive, and I can guarantee you that here in the AM class, I myself would have a hard time competing in that AM class. We'll probably be running it near the mid or back of the pack. AM does not mean that you are bad in this series, not at all. And we have seen some of the best battling in the AM class this season as well, but the pro class, pro qualifying has become a staple event here with GoFAST Racing. Qualifying is a bit different. We do a split qualifying. So we have a 20-minute qualifying session. The first 10 minutes will be for our AM drivers. They'll get to go out, and whatever the track conditions are, they kind of rubber in the track for the pros a little bit. They get 10 minutes from the 20 minutes on the practice session to the 10-minute. They have to start their final lap by the time the timer hits 10 minutes. After that 10 minutes is up, the pro drivers are able to take to the track. They do have to yield to any AM drivers who may be out on track, but any AM drivers should be long gone by the time the pros are heading out on track. We have seen many last lap shootouts in qualifying as we come under the amphitheater. Season opener here at my home track, Circuit of the Americas, only a couple hours away from me. I go here for a multitude of events. Been here for NASCAR, been here for Super Lap Battle Time Attack, been here for Formula One, and I've been here for the World Endurance Championship. So if you live in Texas or live in any area around, or find yourself at Circuit of the Americas, if it's a large enough event to bring you from somewhere out of state to Circuit of the Americas, I will likely be there if you'd ever fancy a meetup. Coming through the S's is Griffith. I was going to say Ormiston, but Griffith has definitely become a serious threat here in this series. Had the fastest lap here in practice for just a moment. That has been taken back by Prieto, the reigning champion in the Nissan GTR. And about 10 minutes left in free practice, plenty of time to try to improve. In the AM class, 1-2 watch Leclerc in the Ferrari, as one could assume. Leclerc and Tychopath. I say Tychopath. Tychopath, previous AM champion, has been promoted to pro. And we'll see where where Tychopath files in the pro field. Leclerc, Sierra, Zoenom possibly a factor in that AM field. Manelli definitely a factor in that AM field. Manelli, the runner-up in the Season 4 AM Championship, definitely going to be looking for an AM Championship and a promotion to pro at the end of this season. A tenured AM driver who has just been eluded by the AM Championship. Could very well be his season. Thank you, Shubi, for the follow. Is there a curse of champions? Ormiston, the Season 3 champion, did not have quite the season run that he had in the Season 3 in Season 4. Will the same happen to Prieto, going for the Nissan GTR? No Ferrari or McLaren or Honda NSX for the Animus Racing driver. Ouroboros, the Animus Racing teammate, who is running in the Ferrari. Definitely one to watch as well. We've had multiple winners here in GoFAST Racing. It's never a one-horse show. And Griffith in the Mustang definitely going to be a disruptor. Brute in the Aston Martin showing some pace. Again, it all comes down to qualifying, and I can guarantee you these are not going to be the extent of the laps that we will be seeing. But as of right now, the top 16 separated by 1 second, and Leclerc and the Ferrari finding himself a good ways into the pro field. I believe that is yellow lemon in the manti colored, or lemon lime, however you'd want to say it. I like to call it Grello, but very possible he would want to go with a different name for the color in the 721 Sad Boys team McLaren. Quite a few new liveries out there. We'll try and get through as many of them as possible. Prieto in the Animus Racing GTR, the reigning champion, Season 4 Pro champion. Griffith in the Smooth Operators Mustang, who actually goes fastest by quite a bit. Trixit also getting up there. Griffith, who was running in the McLaren in the previous season, going for the Ford Mustang, and obviously seems to have found himself at home. Trixit back in the McLaren with a slightly different color scheme for the Team BDK mod team. Aramich in there as well. We will get to him. Ouroboros in the Animus Racing Ferrari 296 GT3. Different color scheme for the Animus Racing crew. Top Gun Racing Salinas in the McLaren. Salinas coming from the Mustang, looking for a bit more success in the McLaren, and as of right now, at least in practice, showing some good pace to contend for a podium. Giant in the McLaren out of the Mustang, also looking for some improvement. As of right now, I believe possibly a solo driver. Goose in the BMW, staying in the BMW with Top Gun Racing as well. Slapshot still in the McLaren with Your Mom in there for Slap Your Mom Racing, the two black and gold McLarens. The Smooth Cremu Mustang of Ormiston. And Ormiston probably going to look for a bit of a tour here in Season 5, a bit of return to form for the Mustang driver. Is not quite the results that he was looking for in Season 4. Looking to have a bit more of a run to the championship like Season 3. Ormiston, an incredible talent in the Mustang. See if he sees victory lane yet again. Yellow Lemon in the Sad Boys Lemon Lime, or Grello. I like to say that it's got some Manti inspiration going there on that McLaren. Leclerc again in the silver and red Ferrari 296. Tychopath in the black, red, and I can't tell, is that black, red, and yellow, or black, red, and orange? I believe that's black, red, and yellow Ferrari 296. Aramich still in the Aston Martin. Bit of a change of color scheme for the Team BDK mod drivers, but still staying with the same cars from Season 4. Marvy making a move over to the BMW and kind of having a bit of integration with, I believe, Ricky Bobby. Elmo in the Mustang as well, who is also having a bit of integration. There's two cars there, can't exactly tell which two. Kiss Army with Upside Down Racing in the black, yellow, and orange Ferrari. Adrian in the Brute Force yellow and blue Porsche 992 GT3. This Boracua Motorsports, Sierra in the 999 Ferrari. No more Lexus for Sierra. Going full on Ferrari. Schwartz, who was a contender for the AM Championship previously in the 99 Ford Mustang. Zoanam in the dark blue and orange, almost McLaren colors, almost Red Bull colors. McLaren 720S GT3, Mustang Motorsports. Silva in the, what is pretty much the United Autosport colors, in the orange and black 720 Silva and Jones Racing McLaren. Yakashokis in the Aston Martin, Speedworks Sim Racing. Scroliosis in the Clearly Racing Porsche with that Hex livery. James Earl Jones taking up the mantle in the Aston, making up the second half of the Silva and Jones Racing team. Nate in the Mustang with the MSA Too Slow, kind of the joint effort there between the two programs. MSA you may recognize from the 24 Hours of Spa this past weekend. Ricky Bobby in the Sad Boys Porsche. This one with the typical Ricky Bobby flair, bright fluorescent colors. Peach and the Smooth Cremu Mustang. Those two Ford Mustangs, Ormiston and Peach, look very good side by side on track. Christian B in the Mustang as well in that black and blue. Cabe in the STP Racing Ferrari. And Manelli in the STP Racing Aston Martin, that gold, white, and black livery. Rowden with Dark Horse Motorsport in the Mustang. Believe that he would be of the purple livery there. Michael D in the Porsche in that Hex livery as well. Langley in the pink Too Slow BMW. Dingham also in a pink Too Slow BMW. Peachy in the M&M Racing McLaren. As practice is ending, we are about to get switched over to our qualifying session. Francisco in the chrome blue BMW. Platypus in the Elmer's Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. Kind of got some of the quadrant colors there with Elmer's Racing team. Sylph, the second half of that MSA Too Slow joint effort there. And Sylph, I believe, taking home a podium in the 24 Hours of Spa this past weekend. Prophet in the blue and white Aston Martin GT3. Bradzilla in the dark red and matte gray. Kind of like a dark red chrome with matte gray. Nice looking color combo on that Mustang. Shuby in the purple and black Ford Mustang. Nightwalker also in that Boracua Ferrari, as we are now started. Oh, get me back to the garage, please. We are now started with AM qualifying, and who is going out first? It's one of the Mustangs. I believe it is Schwartz that will lead the field out of the pit lane. And we have quite the AM field as they get rolling. If you are tuned in and would like to check the live timing for the qualifying results in the chat, use !timing, and it will give you the link to the GoFast Racing live timing, so you can keep up to date with the timing between the field and in both qualifying and the race. Look at lap times and sector information for both the qualifying and race sessions. Thank you to Trixit for giving us that functionality. Schwartz in that Mustang Motorsports Ford Mustang. Nightwalker in that Boracua gray and red Ferrari 296. Shuby in the purple and black Southern Fried Shake and Bake Ford Mustang. Zoanam in the Mustang Motorsports McLaren as well. Rowden in the Dark Horse Motorsport Ford Mustang. Elmo in the Crimson Eclipse gray and red Ford Mustang. Christian B in that black and blue Ford Mustang. Still feeling fine from the Spa 24 Hour. I did manage to get some sleep. Devin Lingard in the Dark Horse Motorsport Ferrari 296. Phoenix Gecko again in the red and black BMW M4 GT3, and Zoom Ranger with 527 Racing in the blue, pink, and black Ferrari 296. But it will be Schwartz who will set the first flying lap for the AM qualifying session. And across the line to start the first flying lap. Through Big Red turn 1, then down the hill for turn 2. Flat out using the camber to pull the car around before you go through the S's section. Very tricky to not invalidate the lap here, as it is very easy to just overstep one way or the other and have to go around for another lap. And while it is a 10-minute qualifying session, not too many opportunities to get it wrong and go back out for another lap. Down the hill through 10 for the braking zone of turn 11 as the AM field gets spread out and tries their best to find some open track. Out of turn 11 and down the backstretch for the hard braking zone of turn 12. Schwartz will lead the field full speed as we await the pace to be set for the AM field. And we are just 3 followers away from 600, so if you'd like to help me reach that goal, just hit that follow button if you would not mind. I greatly appreciate it, and it would be a major milestone to hit for me, especially at the start of this GoFast Racing Season 5. And thank you over to the guys on the YouTube side. I don't check the chat over there as much, but again, thank you to those who have tuned in over there. Into the final turn and across the line for Schwartz. It is not valid. There it goes. Actually, Zoenom with the first lap of the session. Zoenom in the McLaren on pole for now. Zoenom with a 207.400. Schwartz invalid, but with a 207.427. Shuby in the Mustang on pole, a 207.132. As of right now, Shuby the one to beat. And about a quarter of a second back to third place, Zoenom and Leclerc. And we may start to set the field, or at least set the precedent for what may be our AM championship fight throughout this season. And I don't believe I am doing the next ATRL race, but I will be doing the 24 hours of the Nordschleife. We may change things up a bit when it comes to doing that race. Tonight is GoFast Racing, the season opener for Season 5. We've got about 3.5 minutes left in AM qualifying. Coming into the arena section is Shuby around turn 15. I have walked across that bridge many times and got some pictures from this exact angle before. coming down into the final 2 turns. 2 sharp left-handers, very easy to invalidate the first of the 2, and very easy to lose a lot of speed or go too wide and invalidate the final turn, and then full throttle on the power as early as possible as you race towards the line. No improvement for Shuby on this lap. And we have reached over 50 drivers. Exactly 50 drivers will take the grid tonight. Silva in the McLaren on top, 2:07.130, just 0.02 of a second quicker than Shuby. And not quite the United Autosport colors, but almost wanted to say United Autosport on pole. And it is looking to be a dogfight in the AM field. Again, 0.02 of a second between Shuby and Silva. We await the rest of the field. A couple drivers still yet to set a qualifying time. Nightwalker in the Ferrari, one of those. Peachy, who may also be a contender in the AM Championship. Bradzilla in the Mustang, and Zoom Ranger in the Ferrari 296. 4 drivers in the AM field who have yet to qualify. Silva looking to expand the pole sitting time, possibly to go down into the 2:06s, would be the first and only AM driver to do so far if he can. We will see what it'll be for Shuby across the line, though. Only needs 0.02 of a second. Elmo goes up to 3rd in the AM class. Does Shuby have enough to go fastest? Yes, he does, by about a 1/10. Does Silva have an answer? Good evening, Mitch, and good luck tonight. You are about to get rolling for qualifying. 0.13 of a second slower than Shuby. Said to check out the queue in the pro field, and there is quite the queue as all the pros who have the intuition to go out and line up early are ready to get started. 10 seconds away from the pros being let out of the gate. Shuby on pole currently, but will it stay that way? The 99 of Schwartz coming down the backstretch, roaring towards turn 12. Will Shuby have enough to hold on to, will Shuby have enough to hold on to the pole position, or will it be a disappointment from any of the few AM drivers still on track? You can see on the marching ends, bottom right-hand side of the screen, the monstrous amount of pro drivers coming out of the pit lane. And still a few AM drivers with times yet to be set. As of right now, it is Shuby on pole, Silva P2, Sierra P3, Elmo P4. There is a handful of AM drivers. As long as their laps stay valid, that AM field can be shaken up quite a bit. Out of the final corner for Schwartz, what will it be? It's pole position for Schwartz, the first and only AM driver to go into the 2:06s. Is there any other improvement, though? The 90 of Michael D at the back of the field in the Porsche. Back of the field of those who have set a qualifying lap goes up to P16. The 111 of Kiss Army, currently P10, will stay P10. What about the 720 of Silva? Will he stay in 3rd, or does he find enough for the pole position? Does not find enough. No improvement for Silva. A practice pit lane entry for Devin Lingard in the Ferrari. And another, I believe, Who is that out there? That was the... I want to say that was that was one of the Mustangs. Couldn't exactly tell which one it was. Well, for the AM field, Schwartz on pole, Shuby P2, Silva P3, Sierra P4, Elmo P5, Scoliosis P6, Leclerc P7, Zoan on P8, Nightwalker P9, Kiss Army P10, Manelli P12, Manelli P11, Prophet P12, James Earl Jones P13, K P14, Devin Lingard P15, Michael D P16, Peachy P17, Rowden P18, Bradzilla P19, and Zoom Ranger P20, no time set. It is Ouroboros leading the pro field to set the first time of the session. And immediately behind, can't tell if that's the 334 or the 314. There really be only one way to find out. It is not the 314, it is the 334 of Peach. And Peach in that Mustang and in the Slipstream. That's going to be a lot of speed to try to contain behind, especially in the Slipstream range. But I don't think he will be close enough to catch up to Ouroboros in the Ferrari 296. So we'll go on board with Ouroboros to see if he can bring us our first pro time of the night and set the pace for the pro field. Out of turn 14 into 15 and 16. Looking to go around the amphitheater, around the tower. Set up for the final two left-handers. Out of the final corner, turn 20, across the line. What will the pace be for the pro field? 205.637. Peach goes 3/4 of a second slower behind. It's Ouroboros on pole for now. Aramich goes P3. Ormiston just a tenth slower than the teammate, less than a tenth slower than the teammate, P3. Platypus goes P4. Prieto, it's Animus Racing 1-2 for the time being. Prieto about half a second slower than the teammate, but still plenty of time to find. And let's go on board for a lap with our reigning champion in the Nissan GTR. Down through the S's, just trying to dance the car through without overstepping the track limits on the inside and invalidating the lap. Doing the same thing as you come up the hills for 6 and 7. Very tricky, pretty much the entirety of Sector 1, a little bit into Sector 2, and then you roar down the hill full throttle for turn 10 for the hard braking zone of turn 11. Could possibly see some overtaking here at turn 11 as one of the best braking zones to go for. And then back on the throttle, full throttle down the backstretch. Griffin in the Mustang disrupting the Animus Racing teammates, jumping up into P2. Now for the hard braking zone of turn 12. Bit of camber on the inside to kind of drop you down through, but don't want to get that sausage curb on the inside either. That'll pop up the front of the car, and you can't turn tires that are not on the ground. Now trying to rotate the car. A bit of a slide for Prieto through turns 13 and 14, now through 15 and 16. Once again, just trying to get rotation. And now the teeter between throttle, brake, and steering input for the long right-hander before you come into the left-handers of 19 and 20. 19, little bit of sausage curve on the inside, floated to the outside, not too far, stay in bounds. Same thing for turn 20. Hug it nice and tight to the inside. Bit early on the power and a slide around the final corner, but it's good enough for P2 for the reigning champion. Ouroboros still on pole with a 205.280. and the Animus Racing team, the reigning team championship winners as well. Looking for a repeat, and maybe Prieto gives the limelight to the teammate of Ouroboros. As of right now, cannot be stopped, but it's just qualifying. Things can be very different in the race. We still have our full field of 50 drivers and a few that have yet to qualify. Langley in the number 4 BMW, one of those. Your mom in the 71 McLaren. Phoenix Gecko, who we have seen run very high up the order. I think it may have just been a bad lap there. Currently P46. And a bit too much of the outside curb for Langley. That'll invalidate this lap, and he will have 2 more opportunities. Granted, this lap is clean to go for another lap. Your mom in the McLaren. Previously a very, very skilled driver and running in the top 10, well into the top 10. Had a bit of a rough season in Season 4, looking for a return to form here in Season 5. Goose in the number 28 BMW, still yet to qualify as well. Long way to go to get back to the top of the order. And out of the final corner for Ouroboros in the Ferrari 296. Across the line. Stays the same, does not improve. 2:05.280, still the top time, and the top 11 within 1 second. And just a bit of reference, GoFAST Racing touts itself as being the fastest console sim racing league, especially here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Our pole time is less than the 101% LFM race pace. A lot of the PC drivers like to say that console will be nowhere within a second of PC. Well, as of right now, and what you saw with the 24 Hours of Spa just this past weekend, console drivers are very capable of putting up times similar to those on PC. You just need to get the right batch of console drivers. Now the top 13 within about a second, and the top 29 within 2 seconds. Qualifying will come to a 0. And what about the 221 across the line? That is the McLaren of Giant, goes P9. YOLO Lemon in the McLaren goes P16. Ouroboros in the Ferrari 296 will be the next across the line. Coming through the final 2 turns. We'll see if he's got any improvement on this lap. If he does not, we'll probably pull over into the pit lane, but no, stays out. Has 0.2 and 2 thousandths of margin to the next driver. Does not improve. What about the 334 of Peach, currently P13, stays P13. What about Aramich, P9 for the Aston Martin driver. Ormiston, P6. Another Ferrari coming across, that is Diego, goes P10. Trixit goes P7. One of the McLarens, that is the McLaren of your mom, goes P20. The Mercedes of Platypus, sorry, not the Mercedes of Platypus, that is the Mercedes of Iceberg, goes P22. Aston Martin of Brute goes P24. The BMW of Marvy goes P21. The Porsche of Adrian and Team Brute Force goes P15. The Mustang, who is in that Mustang there? Can't exactly tell who that is. I believe that may have been Sylph. Slapshot goes P10. There are quite a few drivers here. Phoenix Gecko, I knew he was off the pace, goes P4. BMW Goose goes P28. And the final car across the line will be the 721 of Yellow Lemon. Currently P18, looking for some improvement. I don't think he had it, stays P18. It's Ouroboros in the Ferrari on pole. And the starting grid, Ouroboros, Prieto, Griffith, Phoenix, Silth. Don't do this to me. Silth, Ormiston, Trixit, Salinas, Platypus, Slapshot, Aramich, Diego, Giant, Peach, Adrian, Tychopath, Goose, Yellow Lemon, Mataj, DDoS, Your Mom, Marvy, Langley, Iceberg, Brute, Dingham, Schwartz, Shuby, Silva, Ricky, Bobby, Sierra, Elmo, Scoliosis, Leclerc, Zoanam, Francisco, Nate P, Kiss Army, Manelli, Prophet, James Earl Jones, Cabe, Devin Lingard, Michael D, Peachy, Rowden, Christian B, Bradzilla, Zoom Ranger, and Nightwalker. So actually 49 on the grid, as I believe we have lost someone, but still a GFR record for the Season 5 opener. And as we wait, thank you all for tuning in. We'll take a quick break, and we will be back for the formation lap to get started. Cars on track and rolling for the first time in Season 5. I'll be right back. Welcome back. We are engines fired and about to get rolling for the largest grid ever for GoFAST Racing. 49 drivers on the grid. We had 50 at one point. I think we may have lost someone. But Ouroboros will lead this record-breaking grid off the line as it's an Animus Racing 1-2 with Griffith, who is looking like he's got a lot to prove. Next in line behind Griffith is definitely going to be one to watch in the Mustang. Phoenix Gecko newcomer last season, has put the car on pole before, or right near the pole. And I knew Phoenix Gecko towards the back of the pack at 9 seconds off the pace was not going to be the pace that he had in that car. He is now starting P4 in the second row, right beside Griffith. Two drivers with something to prove this season. Sylth making a return here with GoFAST Racing. Has got some experience and should be nice and warmed up to the car, even though he was in a Ferrari in the 24 hours of Spa. Actually, I believe he was in the McLaren. He's in one of the mid-engine cars with a V6. Ormiston, not the previous champion, but a previous champion, again looking for a return to form this season, did not have quite the run that he wanted in Season 4, and I don't believe that he got a victory. Contended close sometimes, but things just never quite went his way. Tricks it with Team BDK Mod, the GoFAST Racing admin team, as they are looking for, again, a bit of return to form for them as well. Aramich was one who was competing for the Pro Championship, did not get it. See if maybe Aramich and Trixit can have a good run in the Team Championship as well. Platypus won in Season 3, who had a shot at the championship, but things all went wrong in the penultimate round. Back in the Mercedes, maybe has a chance again this season. Slapshot in the McLaren. One to watch as he may pull a surprise performance out of the hat. But as of right now, previous multi-time champion, multifaceted champion in the McLaren, looking for some similar results with the Kimi Räikkönen tire warming strategy of not warming the tires at all. Aramich and the number 9 Aston Martin still looking for some improvement. Again, trying to get back on the top spot for the championship and get back on the top spot with a race victory. See how this season goes for him. Diego, newcomer in GFR, looking to shake things up as well. YOLO Lemon, a newcomer in GFR. And Schwartz, top of the grid in AM, as we for once have a clean split. 5 AM drivers with no pros in between, as I believe we are going to have a serious contention in the AM Championship this season. We line up 2 by 2 as Ouroboros stacks up the field, and he will lead them through the final turn as we get ready to take the green flag for the first time here in GoFAST Racing Season 5. Approaching the lights as we wait for the green flag to wave. Ouroboros and Prieto, the Animus Racing drivers, previous team champions, at the front of the field. Green, green, green. 2 cars, the 30 and the 14, getting drive-through penalties for starting infringements. And it's the reigning champion who will get alongside the teammate. It looked like it may have been a move for the lead, and around goes the 10 of Salinas, and will get swallowed up by the pack. There's a sea of McLarens heading into turn 2. How does everyone fare behind in this record-breaking grid? Everybody seems to be okay. The 51 of Leclerc gets a touch, and he has gone around. We'll see how he's able to fare. There's cars around all over the place, as chaos is abundant as this record-breaking field tries to get lined up. And as they come down turn 10 for the first time, Prieto, reigning champion, holds the lead, but it's a move from the teammates, an old switcheroo that will slow them both up. And is Phoenix in the BMW going to be able to possibly make a move for the lead very early in this race? They're all 3 red cars. You'd think it's a 3-way team but it is not. Ouroboros wants to make the move on the teammate. It's not going to work, and I think he may end up losing one. Holds the inside for turn 13. As Phoenix in the BMW wants to go around the outside, it's not going to work. Ormiston, who is hungry for a victory yet again, wants to get involved in that. Platypus behind, sorry, not Platypus, that is the Mercedes of Iceberg, getting involved with, I believe, a touch of contact with Langley there, and lost a couple positions. Any incidents that need to be reported can be reported. There will be post-race stewarding, so any penalties for any incidents that need to be applied will be applied post-race after the stewarding team takes a look at all reports and makes a decision. Prieto and Ouroboros not necessarily racing like teammates right now, as Prieto breaking the toe. Also back behind Sylth and Platypus, getting their elbows out. Sylth going to the inside, trying to hold back the Mercedes driver, who is actually going to be under attack from Slapshot for P7. Again, there is a required pit stop in this race, and we do have a couple cars coming down pit lane, the 30 of Peachy and the 14 of Bradzilla serving the drive-through penalties. Still everyone trying to get sorted out. There is a bit of a scrap between Trixit and Giant. I believe they get lined out for turn 10. In the AM field, it's Silva versus Schwartz, and this very possibly could be our battle throughout the season for the AM championship. I believe Ouroboros now playing a bit of defense for the teammate. Phoenix still trying to find an opening to go for the overtake. Diego up to P9 in the Ferrari, behind the very talented Slapshot and ahead of the also very talented Aramich. Peach has a bit of a mistake into turn 16, and that will open the door for YOLO Lemon. But they will be side by side as they come into turn 19, and Peach goes back up the front but gets turned around. We'll see if he can keep it fired. He's got a touch of damage on the side, and yellow flags will indicate the field to respect the car that is around, and Peach has to just wait for the field to go by and rejoin the track when it is safe to do so. 3 Mustangs in the top 6. It looks like they are hounding for a chance to fight for the podium. From your mom and going on back, Giant behind. At least at the previous sector lines, it seems like they are getting close, but it is a very tightly packed field. And we've got a few battles for position all the way up and down the field. Brute and Iceberg getting a bit close to each other. Again, this battle for the AM lead between Silva and Schwartz is well on. And the good thing about battling, if you're in the AM field, you've likely got some pros in front of you. That means even if you're in the lead, you are going to be getting some slipstream from the cars ahead. The Aston Martin of Brute forced to go wide, and Batage looking to defend, has both the Aston Martin and the Mercedes up the inside. Iceberg wants to go for the inside at 12, or at least looked like he wanted to. Will not go for it and tries to get on the brakes to not go into the Aston Martin of Brute, which he does not. Then Brute and Iceberg will go side by side, and Iceberg gets a touch, goes around, gets corrected by the BMW of Goose. All this is going to do behind is choke up this battle for the AM lead between Silva and Schwartz. McLaren versus Mustang. not too many opportunities for overtaking. The opportunities will kind of just arise, and you have to be close enough at the right time to make the move work. As the battle for the AM lead continues. Sylph versus Platypus, they continue to run in their order. A bit of a gap developing between Ormiston and Sylph, as Ormiston trying to catch up to Phoenix, who is just barely holding on to the leading duo of Prieto and Ouroboros. Silva still leading Schwartz. Schwartz is getting ever so much closer. He's also got two BMWs in the Pro class behind of Marvy and Francisco, who are definitely going to want to get past this Pro, or get past this AM battle and contend more in the Pro field. Scroll in the Porsche with the AM Mustang of Shuby, and Nate P also wanting to find a way up the inside. Nate goes up the inside. Well, they go 3 wide into the braking zone. Shuby will not have room to go for the move. Nate gets up onto the sausage curve that's going to really kill his momentum and forces Shuby to make a touch of contact, as well as Shuby really had nowhere to go. This battle for the AM lead is well on. The Ferrari of Montage getting overtaken by the BMW of Goose, not getting overtaken. They're actually going to go side by side into turn 16. The BMW holds the inside and now will get the overtake. And Iceberg in the Mercedes wanted to try and get a nose on the outside of the Ferrari, but it is not going to work. Schwartz still trying to get onto the back of Silva for the AM lead, but now has the pros starting to filter through. That is the 7 of Marvy and the 62 of Francisco, who are trying to find their way through the field. And back here on board with Nate, he's got Scroll in the Porsche behind and Shuby in the Mustang behind them. Zoanam in the McLaren. Zoanam goes late on the brakes, wants to get the move on Shuby. Shuby not really going to let it happen. Has the outside at turn 1, which gives him the inside at 2. And side by side through to the McLaren, going to run out of momentum. But will he hold the inside? Yes, he will. Side by side, at least through the first of the S's. Has to concede the space for Shuby to get back up to the front, and Shuby will hold on to his position. Your Mom and Salinas in a battle here. Salinas in the slipstream of Your Mom, tricks it behind as well. Giant behind. It's a group of McLarens, a large block of McLarens. And the 55 of Zoanam off at turn 10, and we'll have to wait for the field to sort through. When we've got a 30-car field, it's really not that big of a deal, but when you've got a 50-car field, well, things are a bit different. The Ferrari of Zoom Ranger battling the Porsche of Ricky Bobby for P42. The Porsche well into the slipstream, going to the outer limit of the track, and Ricky Bobby late on the brakes, will not go for the overtake. Actually a bit earlier on the brakes than the Aston Martin. Wanted to go up the inside. It's not going to work. There's quite a large group of cars here. That was Profit in the Aston. They're going to go 3 wide through 13 and 14, and Profit wanted 1 position, loses 1 position. Maybe can try and take it back. Tychopath trying to get back up towards the front of the pro field, and gets a hard contact from Profit. I think Profit tried to push him back straight, but it did not work. Hard and into the sand goes Tycho, who is probably not going to be too happy about that contact there. Starting in the pit lane, Schwartz goes into the pits early, And I think this may be an undercut strategy to try and maybe gain some ground on the AM leader. 721 of yellow lemon clears his drive-through penalty for track limits. And battle between the two teammates for the race lead. Phoenix Gecko in the BMW with Ormiston in the Mustang behind. Silth with the fastest lap. Not really trying to stay in the slipstream. I think he wants these two up ahead to maybe battle it out and try and pick up the pieces here in a bit. Battling the Ferrari of Diego up to P8 and the Aston Martin of Aramich. Aramich is not going to go silently, but touch of contact on the inside, and Diego, elbows out, will get the position and hold on to it. Griffith in the Mustang, who got swallowed up by the pack early, now trying to regain some lost positions, currently P10. Your mom with Trixit, Giant, and Salinas behind. I believe Giant has gone up a position in this group and is trying to gain a few more positions. Now well into the slipstream of Trixit. We'll be looking for one more. This trio of McLaren's, Giant well onto the rear of Trixit. Trixit not going very defensive, knowing that Giant will have the slipstream. Giant not quite close enough. Now gets alongside through two, but very hard to hold the line around the outside. Sets up wider to try and maybe get a very curious cutback on the inside of turn two, but not quite going to work. And has to stay behind through the S's. Very hard to go side by side through the S's with anyone. And if you do, you will be going so slow that you will just start a queue of cars behind. .720 of Schwartz leading the AM field has now the 999 Ferrari of Sierra, making the change away from the Lexus, and maybe the Ferrari will bring a little bit better of a result for the AM driver. Car number 12 gets a drive-through penalty for track limits. That's the Ferrari 296 of Nightwalker. And we may see a battle for the AM lead between Sierra and Silva. I don't think Sierra will be quite close enough, at least within the slipstream, and will pull out of the slipstream as he does not want to immediately drive up behind. May try and set up the overtake into turns 15 and 16, and maybe set it up for the run into turn 1, up into Big Red. Phoenix, who has the Mustang of Ormiston behind, and in the slipstream, Ormiston not too eager to get into that slipstream, or stay in that slipstream, I should say. Just kind of putting in laps and trying to set the car up for most success later on. Aramich got the position back from the Ferrari of Diego, and that has brought Griffith back into the fold. Aramich up the inside and holding on to the position. Diego actually losing a bit of time through turn 2, may be prey to Mustang of Griffith behind. And Giant has gone past Trixit. I wonder if maybe there was a bit of contact between them, as Langley has gone up a couple positions there, and Your Mom and Salinas are much further ahead. Your Mom actually starting to gain on Griffith for the 10th spot, as Griffith goes for the late braking overtake into turn 11, closes the door, and kills all of the momentum of the 296 Ferrari of Diego. And that will bring Slapshot right into the slipstream range, just up ahead. Ouroboros starting to become under fire from the Ferrari, or from the BMW of Phoenix. Your mom wanted to go for the move on Diego, not going to work. Griffith now trying to set up a move on the 9 of Aramich. Aramich, a previous GFR champion, looking for another crown this season. But you're not going to win a championship from 8th place. They are all going to try and work together to catch up to the front of the field, but not before having a bit of a scrap between themselves, as they want to be the one ahead of this group, leading the charge to catch up to the leaders. Your mom with a bit of a strategy call, jumping into the pit lane a couple of minutes early. Most of the field will come into the pit lane at the halfway point. The 86 of Trixit jumps in as well. Prieto still your leader, and a bit of a gap grown to himself and the teammate of Ouroboros, who now is starting to have a bit more company in the BMW of Phoenix and the Mustang of Ormiston. A couple seconds gap has grown to Silth, who still holds the fastest lap of the race, and has the Mercedes of Platypus in tow. And this three-way battle for position between Aramich, Griffith, and Diego continues. Aramich now going to be the vulnerable one, especially with the Ford Mustang of Griffith behind. Has incredible top speed, just needs to get close enough in the slipstream range to set up the overtake into turn 12. What about the battle for the AM lead? Remember, there is a change of strategy, as Schwartz in the 99, our first driver to come into the pit lane, is leading of those drivers who are in on pit strategy. Actually, that will change as your mom comes out of the pit lane. Trixit as well. They will be ahead of the 99 Mustang, but the 99 still the furthest ahead AM driver, who has completed a pit stop. Does have to go longer on the tires and fuel, but we'll see how that plays into the strategy as the pit cycle will start here in a few minutes. Especially here towards the front of the field, do we see any undercuts? Haven't really seen Phoenix contending with the lead much to know the kind of strategies that he looks for. Prieto and Ouroboros can both stay out for a long time. So can Ormiston. Ormiston and Phoenix will probably try and catch the strategy the exact opposite of the Animus Racing teammates. And car number 25 gets a drive-through penalty for track limits. That is the Ford Mustang of Christian B, who has a touch of damage on the front, but also a battle behind between the Ferraris of Tycho Path and Zoom Ranger for P35. Zoom a bit defensive into the long right-hander. They'll be side by side into 19, and Tycho Path will go around the outside. Zoom Ranger will not really defend the position there. The 25 of Christian B comes into the pit lane to serve the penalty. So is the 12 Ferrari of Nightwalker. Giant off the Jackson, rolling out of the pit lane. None of our leaders have come in yet. The 7 of Marvy under attack from the sister BMW of Francisco, and they'll be one in front of the other, nose to tail as they come down the backstretch. How defensive does Marvy go? Not very defensive. He will wait and pull the defense as they get closer. No, he will not. He'll line up to the outside, maybe hoping for an overshoot from the 62 BMW, but not quite close enough. Very evenly matched on pace. Marvy does go a bit deep, and that could open the door for the 62 BMW of Francisco, who will line up further to the outside and try and get a run up the inside. It's possible to go for an overtake at turn 16. It's just not necessarily likely. Thank you, Chandler. I appreciate it. Silth into the pit lane, the first of the leaders to come in. And are there any takers alongside Salinas, and the McLaren comes in. And now we truly have a battle between the BMW and Mustang of Phoenix and Ormiston. And Phoenix proving his worth at the front of the field as more pit stops continue. Goose, Marvey, and Silva. Marvey likely going for the overtake or the undercut on Francisco, who stays out. Silva, the AM leader, into the pit lane. That will score Sierra as the AM leader for one lap. And the Mustang seemingly having some issues in the early parts of Sector 2 as the BMW grows the gap. And a bit later on the brakes into turn 11 is the Mustang. As Diego, the 296, gets a drive-through penalty for track limits, was running very high up the order and battling for positions with Aramich and Griffith, but now will be set back quite a ways with that drive-through penalty. Silth out of the pit lane, now the furthest driver ahead on pit strategy. When do our race leaders come in? Battle here between Peach and Dingham. Sorry, not Peach and Dingham. Dingham and Yakashokas, as Yakashokas will have the slipstream, but a bit of a slide going in a bit too deep with the rear of that Aston Martin. And kicks it around, kills the momentum, and Dingham will be just fine, not under any sort of threat as they come down the backstretch. Prieto into the pit lane, and it's an Animus Racing double stack in the pit lane. Ormiston comes in with them, so no alternate strategy. Phoenix Gecko will lead a lap of this race, and we'll see how long the BMW driver will stay out. Slapshot comes into the pit lane as well. What about Aramich? Stays out. Griffith stays out as well. Diego does have that drive-through penalty for track limits, and the Aston Martin of Brute behind. The 51 of Leclerc gets a drive-through penalty for track limits, involved in early contact on lap 1 and gets the double whammy, a drive-through penalty as well. We will wait to see how the pit strategy went for the 99 of Schwartz, and it has not worked perfectly as he comes out right behind the 720 of Silva. What has happened to the 720 of Silva? I think there was a bit of a disagreement there in the braking zone, and Schwartz gets the lead in AM, at least what will be the lead when the rest of the AM field comes into the pit lane. Aramich and Griffith locked in battle here still. The 296 Ferrari has had an issue off at turn 11 and a retirement for the 296. Aramich not necessarily under attack by Mustang of Griffith. Iceberg in the Mercedes gets a 30-second stop-and-go penalty for speeding in pit lane. Phoenix with a big slide coming around the amphitheater. We will see when he comes in. And he comes in now. We'll see how quick that lap was and whether or not he gained any time by not going into the pit lane. The previous race leaders are all the way down at the opposite end of the track. We'll see how long the pit stop is. Platypus in the pit lane as well. Phoenix still trying to find the box. Aramich and Griffith come in. We'll see how this race out of pit lane goes. Brute comes in, Langley comes in as well. Looking for the number 1 of Prieto, number 1 signifying previous champion. I don't know how Profit got a disqualification. Prieto through turn 19. What about Phoenix? When does he get off the jacks? Has he lost out big time? It needed to be a perfect stop for him. Off the jacks, needs to get rolling though. Taking a while to get rolling. And he is actually going to lose some track time and some track position quite a bit, I believe. Still waiting to come out of the pit lane. And Ormiston goes ahead, Silth will go ahead, Slapshot will go ahead, possibly even Salinas. What has gone on in the pit lane? As Phoenix drops down quite a few positions with that pit stop. Still it is still Schwartz in the lead in AM after that miscommunication on the previous lap that caused Silva to go deep into the braking zone. We'll see if Silva can fight it back. Silva will have the fresher tires. Remember, Schwartz came into the pit lane a couple laps early. See how the strategy shakes out for him. Aramich and Salinas battling into turn 11. Aramich having to go defensive. Salinas in the McLaren wants to set up the old switcheroo cutback. I believe it might just work. And a group behind as Griffith is under attack by the two McLarens of Your Mom and Giant. Side by side for P10 between Aramich and Salinas. Aramich might try to squeeze the inside. No, he does not. Griffith behind, not necessarily under attack. Your Mom also trying to defend against Giant as well. And Aramich trying to keep the McLaren behind at bay, but gets it all wrong. And it's very possible Salinas gets the cutback, or is Salinas going to lose a couple positions? Griffith will line up alongside, tried to get the nose in as well, but not quite going to work. In the pit lane, Michael D rolling into the pit lane, and Rowden in the pit lane as well. All sorts of battles and defense going all over the place. Aramich still trying to defend against Salinas. Griffith trying to attack. Who is that Giant? Gets it all wrong. Exiting turn 1 and will be under attack from Trixit. Will concede the position to Trixit and will lose quite a few positions in that altercation. Aramich clear victor there as he does start to open a gap to the Top Gun Racing McLaren of Salinas behind, and Griffith, who was directly competing with Aramich for position, now is having to defend against Your Mom. Yakashokis in the Speedworks Sim Racing Aston Martin getting a drive-through penalty. Will have to serve that shortly. And this long drafting train from P7 pretty much all the way back to P11. 12. I think this goes all the way back to the McLaren of Giant. No one quite close enough for the overtake route. Now starting to apply some pressure to the McLaren of Your Mom. And Aramich still trying to stretch out a bit and get away from the McLaren of Salinas. And a battle between the Mustangs, Ormiston and Silth. Silth with the fastest lap, but a large gap to the Animus Racing teammates, who are looking for a repeat show of dominance here in Season 5. As it's been Prieto and Ouroboros at the front for quite some time. Salinas runs a bit wide. The door slightly opens for the 39 Mustang of Griffith. Willie sent it up the inside, wanted to get alongside as they came into the S's section, was not quite close enough, and it would have been a very brave move to go for an overtake there. Ferrari of Mataj and the BMW of Goose. As Goose tries to get a better run. 27 of Yakashoka still with that drive-through penalty 2 served. Dingham in the BMW going defensive against the Ferrari of Devin Lingard. And the YOLO Lemon McLaren under attack from the Aston Martin of Yakashokas, who does hold that drive-through penalty, but is going to try and lose as little time as possible. Salinas still defending against Griffith. Griffith, who has the McLaren of your mom nearly go into the back of him, and now your mom and Brute will be side by side through turns 13 and 14. The Aston Martin tries to go around the outside. You can set up with the nose at the inside at turn 15 and 16, but it's very hard to make it work, and has Brute just shot himself in the foot as Trixit will now try and go the long way around the outside. Still trying to go the long way around the outside, and is Trixit going to be victim to losing a position as Giant wanted to go up the inside. But after all that wishy-washy back and forth, they stay as they were. Ormiston and Silth continuing to battle for P3. Salinas still defensive for P8 against Griffith. Aramich has now been able to get away and try and attack on Phoenix Gecko for P6. Trixit and Giant behind, continuing to battle your mom and Brute. Just running one behind the other through the S's. Francisco with Mataj and Goose behind. It was Marvy and Francisco fighting earlier, but now Marvy dropping back from that battle a bit. Schwartz now starting to pull away slightly with the AM lead. And once the move was made, not much has changed as we get closer to 10 minutes left to go in this record-breaking race. Slap, the 71 McLaren, gets turned around, and just up ahead, Brute in the Aston Martin as Giant gets ahead of Trixit. Will Trixit go to fight this position back into turn 12? No. All same on the brakes. Between Giant and Trixit. Trixit still unable to fight that one back. And your mom now has to try and regain a few positions as he is hounding the BMW of Langley for an opening. The 90 of Michael D in the Porsche gets a drive-through penalty for track limits. Battle here for P6 in AM between Devin Lingard and Manelli. Manelli lines up the inside, hard braking between the two into turn 12. Devin Lingard forced to go around the outside at 12, but will have the inside through 13 and 14. Manelli has to try and rotate the car a bit more and get a great drive through for any semblance of an opportunity at overtaking at turn 16, but it is not quite going to work out that way. Salinas and Griffith looked like they were a bit closer together. Ormiston and Silth still battling. But just continuing to log laps, pretty much the same pace, or the same distance between the both of them for the majority of the race. It's a very busy track. COTA, not the easiest track to find overtaking opportunities on. It does kind of cause some areas where you've got a few cars that seem to get into a line. There's only a couple major overtaking opportunities. And in the slipstream, Taj behind the BMW of Francisco, but will not be close enough to go for the overtake. Schwartz still leading in AM. The battle between two pros, Dingham and Yolo Lemon. Yolo Lemon in that Grillo McLaren, trying to get into the slipstream enough speed to get past the BMW of Dingham, but not quite going to happen. The 93 Ferrari of Mataj gets a drive-through penalty for track limits. Very easy to do here at Circuit of the Americas. Pretty much on the first half of the track, turn 1 all the way to turn 10. Very easy to overstep the bounds. And I believe, I could be wrong, but just about every driver out here is still on the lead lap. Oh, and a bit of a tussle between Sierra and Devin Lingard, banging doors as they come out of the final corner side by side between the two Ferraris into turn 1. And there's still a bit of contact between. Sierra eventually does have to concede the position. And a big moment for the AM leader. Schwartz gets it all wrong. Had the AM lead handed to him, hands it right back to the McLaren of Silva. And Shuby will also be a benefactor of position there as he moves up to P2 in AM. And that is going to be a move right there that Schwartz is going to replay in his head for a long time. Definitely not going to be proud of that one. Between Dingham and Yolo, the battle continues. Not quite close enough. What about the elbows out battle between the Ferraris? Devin Lingard now a bit defensive, trying to break the toe of the 999 of Sierra. Chandler, it is timing, T-I-M-I-N-G, exclamation point, T-I-M-I-N-G. Sierra still trying to fight the position back, but not finding much luck. And the two McLarens battling each other. Still not much going there. Aston Martin of Aramich has a bit of a comfortable gap to the McLaren of Salinas behind, not quite close enough to be a factor with the slipstream. Giant and Trixit may be a bit of a different story as Trixit tries and does get a much better run out of turn 11 than Giant. Now Giant forced to go very defensive to try and break the toe and not allow Trixit the opportunity at the overtake, but now Giant's best opportunity is take the best racing line away from Trixit, force him to go late on the brakes up the inside. Trixit will not take the bait and will continue to drive behind. The 14 of Bradzilla getting a drive-through penalty for track limits. And Nightwalker, although he does have a drive-through penalty, going past the McLaren of Peachy. And what about the two Ferraris battling in AM? Sierra and Devin Lingard. And is this a third Ferrari entering the fray? Yes, it is the Ferrari of Cabe. It seems we do have manufacturers fighting in blocks, but none of these will be close enough for a move. Salinas and Aramich. Aramich very defensive into turn 1. Salinas will try and get a better drive up the inside. And Griffith trying to use the opportunity to get a much better run. These two up front continue to battle. Griffith will be sucked right back into that fight. That may also bring Brute into the fold as well. Brute can just get close enough, and these two will bunch up enough to allow him to. Griffith has played it right though, and is very much going to be within slipstream range. Porsche of Ricky Bobby yields. And it's Aramich ahead of Salinas, ahead of Griffith. Don't think any of them will be able to get quite close enough for an overtake. Giant has tricks it behind it, but again, not close enough. But Langley in the BMW wants to try and find some room. And battle in the AM lead between Silva and Shuby now, as Shuby wants to become a factor for this AM championship, and who wants to lead the AM championship early, as Prieto has started the final lap of the race. Shuby does have an opportunity to fight for this AM win, but it's going to be everything that he's got on this next lap. Prieto with Ouroboros in typical dominant Animus Racing fashion. It should be another Animus Racing 1-2, and Prieto a win to start off another good season. What should be another good season for the Animus Racing driver. Aramich with Salinas, who is now going to be under attack from Griffith. That is going to pull the threat away from Aramich big time as they come through the S's. Just cannot afford a penalty this late in the race. Got to be very, very careful if you have a track warning or two. And Brute in the Aston Martin, one to watch as he may become a factor in that battle as well. And the battle for the AM lead. Silva gets it wrong again, but he is at least in an easily defendable position against Shuby. But Shuby is going to want to get that lead. It's not quite going to work, as he does get choked up as they come into the S's. We'll check back on with that battle for the AM lead shortly. Griffith not quite close enough to be under attack by the Aston Martin. And we will just go back on with the AM lead. We'll actually go on board with the Mustang of Shuby. This is the fight for the AM lead. Shuby needs a perfect run out of turn 11 or a mistake from Silva early on the power. Silva does get a bit of a better run, and Prieto will take home the win with Ouroboros in P2. It's an Animus Racing 1-2 yet again, but this is the battle for the AM lead as they come to the line. Salinas behind Aramich. I don't think there's any major battles for position ahead. But it's Shuby versus Silva. And if things go wrong, Schwartz is there to pick up the pieces. And the AM field is looking to definitely put on a show throughout this season. Silva wants to take home the AM win. Shuby does seem to get a bit of a better run through. Will it be a late braking move into the final corner, side by side into turn 19? Shuby wants to go around the outside. He will have to try the long way around side by side as they come into turn 20. Is it the switcheroo? Will the Mustang be able to get around? No, he will not. Yes, he will. No, 74 thousandths of a second between the two. Silva takes home the win. Schuby P2, Schwartz P3. And while it was a bit of a snoozer in the pro field, AM is where it is at. Ooh, contact between Sierra and the Porsche. I believe that is the Porsche of Adrian. Sierra going to lose a couple positions from that at the end of the race. But what a wild finish in the AM field. Silva just barely held on to it. It's Prieto with Animus Racing once again taking home the victory, and Ouroboros, the teammate who will we'll see if Prieto gives Ouroboros the opportunity at a victory, or if Prieto wants to maybe have a run in the back-to-back. As they run overall, Prieto P1, Ouroboros P2, Ormiston P3, Slapshot P4, Phoenix P5, Aramage P6, Salinas P7, Griffith P8, Brute P9, Trixit P10, Giant P11, Langley P12, Your Mom P13, Francisco P14, Goose P15, Marvy P16, Peach P17, Silva P18, Schuby P19, Schwartz P20, Elmo P21, Yolo P22, Dingham P23, Scoliosis P24, Manelli P25, KP26, Sierra P26, Tychopath P27, Sierra P28, Iceberg P29, Rowden P30, Lingard P31, Yakashokas 32, James L. Jones 33, Peachy 34, Zoom Ranger 35, Kiss Army 36, Michael D 37, Christian B 38, Ricky Bobby 39, Nightwalker 40, Zoanom 41, Adrian 42, Brad P 43, Platypus 44, Sylph 45. As I did not see exactly what happened to Sylph and Platypus to put them down so many laps. Same thing with Matage, Diego, and Leclerc. But we did have 50 cars, 50 drivers on the grid. Record-breaking field. Silva P1, Schuby P2, Schwartz P3, Elmo P4, Skrull P5, Manelli P6, Cade P7, Sierra P8, Rowden P9, Lengard P10, James Earl Jones P11, PG P12, Zoom P13, Kiss Army P14, Michael D P15, Christian B P16, Nightwalker P17, Zoanon P18, Bradzilla P19. I couldn't quite see the last two. That's going to bring an end to tonight's coverage. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay where you are. We will find somebody to raid. And we'll see you all next week for round 2. Stop by if you wouldn't mind for TRC Posh British GT3 on Wednesday. And also, if you wouldn't mind, I am going to be streaming the Onid Watkins Glen 4 hours console endurance race here on Saturday. And if you wouldn't mind tuning into that and supporting me on a few other endeavors before we get back racing with GoFast Racing. Thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you all next week.